It's underscore of the Time Pals. This week, ShadoSpartan is hosting a special deep dive into League of Legends, taking a look at some of its most controversial and entertaining moments. If you enjoy it, Shadow's deep dive retrospectives can be found in the links on the episode description. Additionally, the Time Pals are testing out new live streaming and video recording for some fun upcoming episodes this fall. So please forgive us a bit while we try to get some kinks in the audio out. Keep on checking out YouTube and TikTok accounts for details. Thanks for being a pal. Awesome. So, didn't think I had enough to write an intro or bring an awesome helmet. So this is it. So what you guys got. So it's Mike underscore of the Time Pals of it. With me, as always, is my permanent guest host, ShadoSpartan.
Leonidas asked me what my profession is. I can now tell him I am a podcaster.
The most devastating of all nerd dad things.
I feel like if we told Warrior Kings that, we'd go into the pit pretty quickly.
I feel like you would have to explain a lot more.
Yeah.
Then my other host today is Jobin.
Hello. Really wish this had blurred backgrounds. I'm very self-conscious about this messy apartment thing, man. Like, I shouldn't be. It's quite nice.
No, it's a nice apartment, and you know what? I will say the one thing you can say by looking at it is you're totally not on meth, because it's just methy enough to be a normal apartment. It's not like super clean.
Yeah, could you imagine what color those white pillows would be if I was on meth?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Also, this was the stupidest purchase I could have ever done with children. Why the fuck did I get white pillows?
Oh, you have no.
Do you know how many Cheeto fingers I've dodged on those things?
The dumbest move I've ever done was I know I'm gonna have my office to theme with Star Wars. Cool, right? And I love Star Wars. And then I'm like, love stormtroopers. We both have huge heads. We both can't shoot. And everything up on the wall in front of me is white everything. It's, white microphones, white headsets, you name it, white seats. And when I had one kid, it was fine. Two more, and they're both total assholes. Worst decision I ever made. Well, behind me is all horror shit, because at least it's all in black. Honestly, like if I could redo it again, I would redo the whole thing. But yeah, it's the Time Pals again. For this one, it's ShadoSpartan presenting one of his babies, League of Legends, which is something that neither I nor Jobin know anything about. So it's gonna be a pretty interesting one.
I the only thing I know is that the few times I've played League of Legends, I have been, and this seems like a stereotypical complaint about the League of Legends community, but quite literally, I have never been shit-talked by my own team as much as I have.
That's incredible.
In League of Legends. It's just, it was amazing. I was almost impressed by the vulgarity of this one dude on the team and just how much he was shitting on the rest of us.
And you were a Counter-Strike guy, weren't you? And you haven't had any.
I fucking love Counter-Strike. But now Counter-Strike's a new generation. It's just like kids who sit with their fucking screens right here, and it's a whole thing.
My only real experience with League of Legends, aside from it's got to be a generational thing of me going, "Hey, does anybody want to play?" and everybody looking at me going, "No," is just like you were talking about the toxic fan base. I've been wanting to try it, but I also know its reputation as being a very toxic environment for noobs. And I'm like, all I know about it is it's a multiplayer game. So I'm like, do I want to be the guy to go in there and F up everybody's night while I try to figure out all these characters? And the answer for me is no. But every now and again, I get that urge of like, I don't give a shit. I'll just fuck up everybody's night. And then I get to the loading screen. I'm like, oh no, they're going to be mean to me. It's like getting bounced out of a really hot nightclub. It's just like, no, I don't need this place.
You've been to hot nightclubs?
I've tried. and I've been
Oh,
turned
okay.
around. I assume this is the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the hottest nightclub I've been to is the roast chicken section of Costco.
No way, you got in there.
But yeah, League of Legends, love it or hate it, it's still a very popular game to this day. If you go on Twitch, it's still up there as tons of people watching it. But I guess I could start with the history of League of Legends. That if you guys aren't familiar, some would say it would go as far back as StarCraft, with some user made maps that you could argue is in that same style, but it was more PvE. It wasn't until Warcraft 3 that the, I guess you could say, genre was invented, the MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena. And in Warcraft 3, there was something called Defense of the Ancients. That was what people would probably say is like their first time actually getting to play a MOBA. And there was many different versions. People would test out different gameplay elements, changes to the map, champion changes. And people would say designer Ice Frog combined all the best parts of all these different versions and created Dota All Stars. And that's what most people played. And actually, most people, you'd have to get Warcraft 3 just so they could play this Defense of the Ancients. Eventually, two business majors created Riot Games, and then they hosted a Dota tournament at the University of Southern California, and then hired some of the gamers with developer experience to start working on League of Legends Clash of Fates, until they eventually dropped that subtitle.
God damn, we can't name anything cool. Like,
I do have to say that I cannot even remember how often I played the Warcraft 3 map for this. Like going to the back when I don't know if there still are cyber cafes in the US for people that didn't want to buy games or have decent computers, but
Can't
there
say
was
I've seen
one.
one, so no, I don't know.
There was one over by Diablo Valley College, which is the local JC, and we spent so much time there. And that was one of the things we played regularly. But we never played it properly. We never played it to where there were both sections of the map filled, so that as you killed enemies, they flooded over. It was just we played on one side by ourselves so that it could be co-op and like just over and over and over and over, along with Counter-Strike and other stuff. So I don't know why I loved that so much versus there being, I guess, no real draw for me to pivot to play League of Legends or Dota or what was the Blizzard one? Heroes of the Storm. Like none of them ever drew me in, despite my love of that custom map for Warcraft 3.
it's cool. You can admit you were scared like me.
Of
The,
course
the,
I
the,
am.
the League of Legends guys seemed like they were the jocks. Like if we were the coolest kids in the library, we weren't allowed to play. No, I don't have any real. Really, it was more about like for me, if you didn't have someone to tell you at least like, hey, this is what this is about. It's hard for somebody who games like me to go like, oh, okay, I'm all in. Like when I played WoW for the first time, someone told me like, this is what this is about, right? So that way I wasn't so much so intimidated. But I 100% knew how popular it was going to be because I did have a buddy who, for his bachelor party, threw that out as a suggestion of going to these cafes. And like, I don't even know if you're allowed to drink. He's like, oh, we can get fucked up. We'll get a bunch of us and play this. And I'm like, no, let's do the first part. I'm not going to go to a fucking internet cafe super hammered. But the fact that that was an option of something you want to do for like a bachelor weekend was insane to me. And then now looking back, and I'm like, oh, of course, it's a major game. Everybody plays it. And I'm not surprised. But at the time, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. No, we're not doing that. But yeah, and I've never played like Dota or anything like that either. So you're talking to somebody who, unfortunately, just every time I hear League of Legends, it's still that pool of I got to figure out what this is. Still to this day,
You're still missing out on something big that's going on.
I am. I'm definitely missing out on people calling me an asshole for like 2 hours straight.
You're missing all the toxic people.
I can do that for you anytime if that's what you're into, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people. I know people that make a living doing that.
To say when I first got introduced to League of Legends was 2010, 2011. You guys remember MLG, right? The organization.
Yes.
They were, I think it was once or twice a month, because StarCraft 2 had come out in 2010, and that was probably among the most popular games at the time. And MLG would host StarCraft tournaments and I think Call of Duty and Halo as well. And I just remember at one of the tournaments, they had an extra tab that said League of Legends. And even on the other streams, when there was a break, I don't know if it was Freak or somebody from League of Legends would come out and just tell people like, hey, have you guys heard about this game League of Legends? We're going to have a exhibition game on one of the other tabs. And so I watched it. I'm like, this seems like a interesting new experience game to play. And it was free to play. It was like, okay, might as well worth trying. And for all the League players out there, my first champion I tried was Shen, who was this cool ninja character, but I had no idea how this game worked. And at one point when I'm like, oh, we need to buy items. And so I look and I'm like, oh, this item, Phantom Dancer, has 2 swords. Well, my champion's using 2 swords, so I should probably buy this item, but that's not at all how it worked. Literally just the items just increase the stats. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right. I mean, well, you'll probably get into that's another thing where when you're on the outside looking in, you think to yourself like, do I have to buy stuff? You know what I mean? Like, do I have to buy characters? Like, and it looks expensive. You're like, oh shit! Like, how do I do this? Because I know it's not pay to win, which is too bad. But at the same time, right? Yeah. But at the same time, when you're me and you're looking and you're like, fuck, man, these are all these character names. I don't know what they do,
Mm-hmm.
and like it says like some of these like $10, $15, and I'm like, damn, like I don't know how you guys keep paying for this stuff. I mean, you're all signed to a guy who has paid DLC and for I forget what they call it currency, but for like NBA 2K and stuff like that, paying real money. It's one of those things too where just like you were saying, there's that element of like, oh, this guy looks cool. Then you try it and you're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, right? I don't know how, I don't know anything. But I respect that clearly because I mean, obviously you're the man with the helmet.
Of course. I stopped playing it for a while until some other friends were like, hey, have you guys heard of this game League of Legends? And then it just kind of became where it's like, hey, let's all play. And then you get hooked on it. So,
I feel like that might have been the thing that had me play more too or get into it, is if I had a group of people who actually wanted to play it regularly. But we were just playing all manner of other things. So I feel like it could have gone a very opposite direction. And I could have been the person getting mad and telling people that their mom is this and that and etc. when they did not adhere to my standards of gameplay.
Instead, you just save it for your children.
Yeah.
Yes. And I hit them with steel chairs.
All right, well, let's jump into the most recent and first controversy on this list. The Ahri skin. So, the most expensive skin in League of Legends was the Ahri skin. Riot launched a new program called the Hall of Legends. This was to honor the most famous players of League of Legends, and their first inductee is Faker, who I will agree is the GOAT of League of Legends.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite moment is when he cried at Worlds in 2017. His team SKT played SSG, and they lost a best of 5 games by losing the first 3 games.
Your favorite moment is somebody crying? God, you guys are toxic as shit.
And when SSG, they came out of their booth, and when they went in to shake hands, as you're supposed to do, they shake hands with the first 2 players, and then they get to Faker, and Faker is still crying, leaning over in his chair. And they're just standing there awkwardly like, well, Faker, come on, shake hands. And his friend is tapping his shoulder like, come on, man, just get it together. Just shake hands. And eventually he does. I just want the whole League community to remember that.
Just shake in tears the whole time.
I'm sure I'm going to get so much hate for that. But anyway, moving on.
Hey, it is what it is.
So,
well, how much is that skin?
This new skin came out just a few months ago. How they went about honoring him is by selling a new skin for his favorite champion, Ahri. And if you want everything this skin has to offer, including profile images, virtual stickers to show off in-game, even a kill counter anytime you kill an enemy player in-game. If you destroy a tower, there'll be this little animation around the tower with Faker's signature. All this stuff, you have to get the signature edition which costs in Riot points 59,260, which is about $500 USD.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
I was going to say that game Valorant was like they have like $80 gun skin packages. I didn't think it was going to be worse than that, but fuck me. $500. Is there anything about like a percent going to the family or the dude or
I was
like
I was trying to look that
charity
up,
or
but at least it wasn't disclosed, or as far as I couldn't find anything like how much does Faker get, how much goes to Riot. I couldn't find anything specific.
So the
Um,
the whole point is it's supposed to honor him as an inductee. It was never meant to be like you're paying $500 actually as a donation to something. We just are giving you the skin. Like you're
it
literally
goes to
just
Riot. I imagine some of it goes to Faker. I mean, I don't know what the percentages are, but yeah, $500 to get this skin.
to get everything.
Some other
Jeez.
stuff. What's crazy is a League Riot point vendor was, I think it was on X. He made a post begging players to stop taking out loans to buy this skin.
wow.
Dude, people are
One creative way to get the skin for cheaper was buying RP cards from places like grocery stores. What people did was they buy these cards from other countries because it was actually cheaper for the same RP points. So players could get it down to about $350 to kind of cheat the system a little.
It's what a
that's
deal
a
though, right?
solid 30% discount, you know?
Right. So, probably wondering if we know about any sales numbers. Well, according to Esports, it only took about an hour to make $660,000, and by the end of the day, about 2.3 million. But this was only during a single event in China to promote the
Mm,
skin. And they even had Faker
Wow.
on there to try and promote it. So just in that one example, by the end of the day, 2.3 million just on this skin. So you can
that's
imagine it's so much higher.
Faker didn't even cry.
Nope. Nope. He didn't cry on stream. So players tried to boycott it by banning the champion Ari in all of their games, which she did have her ban rate increase, but I doubt it really did anything because within about a month, her ban rate just went back to normal.
Ugh.
And then, last thing to mention about it, there was a statue of the Ari skin that you could buy. It costs $300. However, the shipping and handling was almost $700.
Wow.
What?
That is nuts. So if you don't count shipping and handling, if you wanted this and the statue, it's $800.
in total if you want that whole package.
God. No wonder people are running scams in other countries. Can you imagine that shit? Just 3D print it for like $20. Honestly,
Yeah,
I probably
right.
should play it, but no, you should probably steal from them.
No. You should steal every major corporation, Riot Games included. Steal from everybody.
Baker doesn't care about you.
Yeah, it was just crazy when researching this, just the crazy numbers for all this stuff that I'm just like, really? People actually bought into this, especially the loans thing. That I'm just like, really? You're going to take out a loan just to get this skin that who knows how long you're going to be playing this game? I mean, I play it on and off. I might buy a few skins for like my absolute favorite champion, but even if Ari was my favorite champion, I would not go that far and buy it.
Let me ask you then, just because I don't know if it's in your notes, but like because you've played it for a little while, have you had like a champion that you've kept since day one? Do you like have a thing where like I always play this guy and they update him all the time, or is it one of those things where like all the
Yeah, back in the day, I was trying out a lot of different champions, and there'd be a few I would kind of like. But more recently, now, whenever I hop on, I'm generally 9 times out of 10 playing Garen, and I do have um, a bunch of his skins, but they're just mainly the ones that I personally just really like and would like to use. But I don't have every single skin he has.
I mean, I understand that. There's been a couple games where I've spent money on skins purely because the skins were cool. It might not have been for a specific character. And as much as I'm perpetually on the fence about Fortnite, I absolutely own all of the Ninja Turtles skins and Goku and Vegeta. Like I just those came up and I was like, you sons of bitches. You got me finally.
Yeah, I wish Chris was here because we were just talking about buying cosmetics, and he just doesn't understand why people buy skins if they give you no advantage, like no gameplay advantage.
It
He'd
absolutely
just be having a
does.
heart attack right now.
It gives you gameplay advantage in the same way that listening to Superman by Goldfinger makes you better at Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Like that's it just makes you better.
I can't be the dude to make fun of it because once upon a time with WoW, I paid a Chinese farmer to catch me up to one of my friends. That way we could all game together. And that's when I started hating WoW because we couldn't all do the same dungeons. And I'm like, I just spent like $20 or whatever. Not, probably more, probably like, for someone I've never met to take over my account. I don't even have WoW anymore, so fuck you, Blizzard. So like, but yeah, so like, and I remember thinking like, oh, this is the only way I'm gonna have time to do this because I was in school, I worked, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I don't know how the fuck you guys have all this free time. And then now I'm like, dude, I will burn hours and hours and hours playing if I wanted to. But back in the day, I'm like, yeah, cool. Here, take my money, get me to this level so I can go and try to farm something for, 2 hours. Yeah, there is an element of like, I just threw real money away for this fake thing.
Right. Yeah. Alrighty. Let me move on to our next story: pros versus developers. I actually can't remember like the last time at really like any tournament for any game where there'd be like an exhibition of developers versus the pros. But actually, Riot Games did do this in 2011 at DreamHack, the first ever world tournament for League of Legends, which had 44 million people watching live.
Damn.
There was a match where 5 pro players got to play 5 developers. The pros crushed them. There was even a moment where the devs chased after one of the pro players playing Master Yi, and he would stop and dance just to make fun of them for being bad, and they couldn't catch him. Which kind of makes people think that even today, Riot doesn't play or barely plays their own games. So some people like to remind everyone about DreamHack just to show that Riot barely knows how to play their own damn game.
Honestly, I understand. I would leave my work at work.
Yeah.
Straight up. I would leave my work at work. I bet you they're all mad and John.
Oh, for sure. All right, next story. All random, all mid. MLG. I cannot pronounce. Raleigh. Raleigh.
Rayleigh.
Rayleigh. Let me try that again. MLG. Rayleigh 2012. In the first game of the finals were played by Curse NA and Team Dignitas. They decided to do what's called all random, all mid. This is actually a game mode now in the current League of Legends, but at the time, this was just like a custom game that people would set up that it would just randomly pick a champion for you, and everyone would go down the mid lane, and you would just fight. You weren't allowed to recall back to base to get items. It was only when you would die, you could then buy items and then come back, and you could only go down the mid lane as a team. Those were the parameters. Normally, this might be okay, but because MLG heard that the teams colluded to split the winnings no matter who won, both teams got disqualified. Although both teams claimed they did not collude to split the winnings, they did agree to the all random, all mid, but only for the first round, thinking it would be funny and fun for the fans to see. Still, Riot agreed with MLG and the winnings were split with the other teams.
And obviously, they love the idea of the game mode. They just took it for their own game. That's interesting.
I mean, it seemed like a fun moment to kind of advertise to people like, oh, there's this fun thing to do, all random, all mid.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of games where I like doing random character selection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it gives you an excuse to try other stuff.
But I guess they wanted to make sure that, the tournaments were still played with integrity. Because you know how like some teams will like throw a game early on so they get placed somewhere to have a better shot at the finals. But even though this game was in the finals, but I guess
I would cheat like a motherfucker. I do not care.
yeah, I guess it's like they thought it would be okay because it's basically just the teams throwing away a game. Whoever wins basically gets a free win. But hey, it is what it is. I can't fault Riot for just being like, look, you guys can't do this. You guys need to play your best every game.
Yeah. Well, there should be integrity. I get it. Don't go.
Yeah.
You have to keep guys like me out.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Gotta give
All right.
110% every day, brother.
And then there was the all-female team, because everyone, wants more women in esports. So in 2019, a Russian team of all females called Victus tried competing in official league tournaments. They lost 28 straight games and an extra 6 games at another tournament for a total of 34 games lost. They also made history for losing a game in the fastest time in League of Legends history at 13 minutes.
See, I feel like I've beaten that.
Yeah, exactly.
The team beat them in 13 minutes.
I feel like I could run away for longer than that.
I feel like I've done worse than that. I feel like I've lost in like 9 minutes or something like that.
But see, you weren't competing in a tournament, like an actual official
I
tournament.
mean, this is official in the history books.
That's fair.
All Russian. Yep, all female Russians.
Hey, you know what they say? If you're red, you're dead, and look what happens.
All right, next on we got 10k gold ahead. Gets you a free win. During a tournament in 2018, the team of Clutch Gaming faced off against Echo Fox. About 30 minutes into the game, League of Legends crashed. Now, Riot does have a system in place where if the game crashes, freezes, a player disconnects, or even a bug that happens at a major moment in the game, if like an ability goes off, like if it's supposed to stun a character and it doesn't, and it causes the fight to go one way, Riot can actually backtrack and reset the game exactly where it was before the issue occurred and resume play. However, they couldn't do it for this one game. So Riot decided to give the win to Echo Fox simply because the team was ahead by 10k gold. And this was during a best out of 3 games, and of course it was game 3, so essentially Echo Fox got to advance to the next round for free. What makes this an exploit, or at least people see it as such, is basically teams just need to get ahead by 10k gold and then find a way to crash the game and hope Riot couldn't fix it and they would just be given a free win, is what people are seeing this as. Most longtime players know easy ways to get the game to crash, so it is possible teams could still do this today, but so far it hasn't happened, but in theory it could. So I guess Riot doesn't want to restart matches, because if a losing team could just crash the game and just restart the match, I'm sure that's why they didn't want to just restart the entire match and just gave it to Echo Fox.
I mean, it sounds like a solid strategy to me.
It sounds like my strategy. No, I'm just going to say, like, it sounds like the kind of thing where you guys are probably the same way. You've probably been playing a game where you're getting the shit kicked out of you. You think to yourself, like, all right, if there's any kind of game I can win, or any kind of way I can win without having to actually do any kind of skill-based thing. Like, it's the equivalent of, like, if you're playing basketball and you're down by a lot and you just make that last shot and you scream, last point wins, and you make it in. Right. It doesn't matter how far behind you are. It's almost like that's my strategy. I should have been playing League of Legends this whole fucking time. God damn it.
I was just going to say, hey, if it hasn't been patched out of the game, if it hasn't been fixed, it's a legit strategy. It's on Riot to fix that, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, like I said, if you're up 10k gold, that should mean the team is pretty far ahead. Even though I've been in games where it feels like we're super far ahead, but in late game, maybe the other team has a better team comp for the late game, and then they make this big comeback. And I think that's why people are just kind of worried that it's like, yeah, it might look bad now, but you just don't know until the late game if they don't finish it quick enough. It's always a possibility.
Like 10k a lot then? Or is it not considered?
I would say, yeah, it's a pretty significant amount if you're up 10k. But like anything, it is still technically possible that the other team could come back from that if they throw it, and it has happened before.
Yeah, I can see that too.
All right, moving on to a YouTuber. And actually, in my retrospective of League of Legends season 12, I actually recommended this guy at one point. He was an alleged multi season challenger player who started his own brand for League content and had his own coaching website, but charged upwards of $200 per
God,
game.
man, how are you guys so rich?
Many League pros spoke out about this or his coaching videos as being bad. They felt the way he would yell at people and some of the information he was giving out wasn't worth $200. Nice went as far as DMCA striking some of their videos to try and get them taken down. He's one of those YouTubers.
Right.
Then there was the debate if he even hit Challenger at all. They were able to look at his accounts and it never said he hit Challenger. He did get close, but never like officially hit Challenger. And just so you guys know, there's iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, there's emerald, diamond, then you hit masters, grandmasters, and then Challenger is the highest. So he was only ever stuck in grandmasters and he just never hit Challenger at all. But he would always keep saying, like, oh, I'm a multi-seasonal Challenger player. I've always been there.
Well, you're gonna have to. You're charging $200. Shit.
But just the fact that he kept saying, like, no, I am a Challenger player. Then he came out with a video hating on the haters and showed a screenshot of him hitting Challenger. Again, screenshot, not like he officially, like on the leaderboard or anything, just a screenshot that it pops up saying, congratulations, you hit Challenger. Later, they took a closer look at the screenshot and it appeared to have been altered and things didn't like line up, like where his name is supposed to be. Something off about it. It looked like an image just kind of plastered on top of it. One of those things. Later, Nice later made another video admitting the screenshot was fake. And he said, I quote, I was very, very likely really close to Challenger anyways. End quote.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? I still got more to say, but any thoughts right now?
No, it's just like as long as there's been any sort of like, doesn't matter if it's a video game, a sport, or like anything that requires learning or training, there's gonna be snake oil salesmen, you know? The same thing, it's just like all those life coaches like Tony Robbins and all that stuff, or yeah, there's gonna be people who try and get away with shit until they can't get away with it anymore. And it's like it makes sense that
Oh, it's still around. I mean, do you remember Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all those like those?
oh yeah.
He still pops up on advertisements.
And they're still around. And then you'd find out like X amount of years later that they were, embezzling funds and like all this other stuff. It's always consistent. This is probably the closest I've ever felt to League of Legends right now, where there's an element of like, oh man, that's kind of genius. Like I'm just gonna tell everybody I'm good at this thing, and then you pay me money, and I'll just tell you, yeah, you can be good at this thing too. You know what I mean? That's it. That's just all it is. It's basically a way to pump yourself up.
Yeah.
The thing is though, is he didn't need to make that claim that he was at Challenger. He could have easily just been at the rank he was at and then told like bronze and silver and like whatever
just some
I can
basic
teach you how to
things.
get up to like platinum and diamond. He would have been successful with that.
Yeah, he was in Grandmasters. Like he was a really good player. This wasn't. He was like the whole time fake. No. He was a good legit player. But just this one thing, he just had to admit he was a Challenger player, but never officially hit Challenger.
Yeah, see, he could have actually legitimately done this well, and he got too greedy. He flew too close to the sun, man.
Or even just do like a YouTube series of like trying to get to Challenger as like some cool content. But no, he had to look like an ass and keep trying to lie and say, no, I've been to Challenger, and then finally come out and say, I got really close.
Do we know how many people actually bought his service? Because I mean, it's one thing to say like I'm going to charge you $200 per person, but it's another thing to actually have people buy you. You know?
I mean, he had tons of content of him coaching through people that he would post online on his YouTube channel. So who knows what the official numbers are? Because I think it's cheaper if you buy it and you allow him to post it on YouTube, or more expensive if you want it private. Another thing, Riot gave out Challenger merch to people who finished a season in Challenger. This was another thing he attempted at claiming he hit Challenger because he had a Challenger backpack. And I even remember on his website, he had him holding a League of Legends Challenger backpack to show off. Turns out he got that by getting a separate account to Challenger in South America, which players would say are equivalent to Diamond players in North America. So if you wanted to get to Challenger, sure, go and create a South American account and play there, but you're going to be playing against really terrible players.
Right.
So it was kind of a way to cheat the system a little bit.
I just like the idea that he bought a backpack that says he was a champion, and thus he can be a champion. That's why I buy so many wrestling belts.
Yeah.
Same concept.
And that's what he would say is like, see, I got the backpack. Only Challenger players get this. But because he was saying, I got this for North America, but he wouldn't say, well, I technically got this in South America.
We could be friends, straight up. Me and that guy could be friends. I have a lightsaber hanging above my monitor. I'm a Jedi.
So there's a long video going over all this drama and downfall of Nice. His last video was back in August of 23, where he talked about he was going through a divorce and he needs time to deal with that and a break from all the drama. And it seems like he's completely gone from YouTube. Looking at his website, he's charging $250 for his stream coaching and $350 for private coaching. Yet he doesn't seem to stream anymore, and it's probably just a ghost website. So I hope people aren't still like ordering it and just nothing happens, or he probably just has a team. All right, now this next segment is just hilarious bugs, just funny stuff that happened in League of Legends that it's pretty much a rapid fire. Snowballing for easy wins. Sword of the Occult and Medjai Soulstealer are two items for snowballing. One of the items, Sword of the Occult, is no longer in the game right now, but Medjai Soulstealer still is. Sword of the Occult would give 5 attack damage per stack. You got 2 stacks for 1 kill and 1 stack for an assist, up to a maximum of 20 stacks. So you could have an extra 100 attack damage, plus at max stacks, you got 20% attack speed. There was a bug in the game where if you got a kill and then you recalled back to base, you sell it, but then you undo the change and the bug would add an extra stack. So you could just keep reselling, then reverting the change until it got to 20 stacks. And this is only like a few minutes into the game. And you already have an extra 100 attack damage. Or if you get Medjai Soulstealer, then you could have an extra 100 magic damage. And I think it was 20% cooldown reduction right at the practically start of the game. And people tried to exploit this to rank up as quickly as they could. But once Riot found out about this bug, they disabled the items until they could fix it. And they did say in a post, they did revert people's ranks back to what they were if they were using this exploit to rank up.
But how can you tell if people were using the X? I mean, I guess there's probably some sort of record in the game of them ranking up and selling and
having 20 stacks, but only like 1 kill or 1 assist.
Yeah.
It was probably pretty easy to track. Next, we got Azir Infinite Towers. Azir was a champion that could place a weaker version of towers where the towers used to be after getting destroyed. However, there was a bug where he could just simply place towers wherever he wanted and however many he wanted. He could just slowly make his way to the enemy nexus, just placing towers down, and nobody could stop him. One player owned by Havan, I don't know what that reference might be. used this exploit and won 22 games in a row and went from silver to platinum during this time before Riot was able to fix the bug and ban the player for knowingly using the exploit.
I don't know if I like banning the player for
Yeah.
finding a bug in your game.
Yeah, I agree. Just reset him, maybe give him a suspension for a month, being like, come on, dude, you knew this was an exploit.
Yeah, dick move, but
Yeah.
also fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. 100%.
Like, I have to say that if he had ranked up to like Grandmaster or
All the way to
Challenger
Challenger
or
somehow.
used it to win tournaments, some sort of monetary, like, then maybe I could see banning him. But like, yeah, again, it's an issue with your game, man. People are just taking advantage of your fuck ups. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how
Like I
down
said,
I am
if
with
you
that.
turn around and sold it as like, here $100, and you can find out why devs hate this one trick. But if it's just him going like, I'm just gonna keep doing this so you guys fix your shit, I don't think that's a bad thing at all.
Yeah, don't get mad
I
at the
mean,
player, get mad at the devs.
yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah, they don't even play their own game, so what does it matter? Next, we got Darius pulling from across the map. Darius was a champion with an ability to pull enemies towards him. And it was only like a short distance. It wasn't really far, but it was generally just so if a player started running away from him, he just pulls you back in for a little bit. Players found out if they channel the summoner spell teleport back to base, then at the last second before the teleport finishes, using the pull ability, it would pull any character back to base with him. It wasn't necessarily like game breaking bug, but it was just hilarious if you could actually pull it off. Because then the timer is, I think, like 5 or 6 minutes for the teleport. So it's not something you could just keep on doing. Plus, you had to stand still, wait for the teleport, which is like a 5-second counter, and then at the last second, hope an enemy got in range, and then you pull him.
I'd be interested in what my reaction would be if I fell victim to that. I probably think it was just fucking hilarious.
Well, because there was a video that he did that where there was usually enemies would hide out in a certain bush at the start of the game. And so he just took a path where they wouldn't see him coming, and he would stand there and at a specific time when he's like, if this is an invading team, they should be here by now. And then he just pulled it off, and he pulled the entire team with him. Hard to know if it was a real video. I mean, you could say it was fake, or he just got lucky one game and actually pulled it off. Pun intended.
I did see something similar. I don't play it, but there's a new Marvel one out right now, a multiplayer one.
Oh, the Overwatch clone, yeah.
And somebody, I don't know anything about these characters, but somebody was playing Doctor Strange, and I guess he has this ability to open a portal one place and another place. You can just kind of jump between places.
Mhm.
And I guess he opened a portal in front of like the enemy base, and then opened one outside of the map. So all these guys just jump through it trying to get to Doctor Strange. And you see on his camera, dude just flying off the map, like over gunning himself. And it reminds me of that. I'm like, and I was cracking up because that would be me. It would be like, there's that portal that belongs to the enemy. I'm like, I'm gonna fuck him up. Whee!
All right, then we got Draven cashing in on Ghost champions. Draven was a champion that gained stacks for catching his axes after each attack. If you got a kill, he would get bonus gold based on how many stacks he had. Then you have the champion Alawi, who had an ability that would send out a tentacle, and if it connected with an enemy champion, it would create a ghost copy of that champion and pull it towards Alawi. You can kill this ghost to deal damage to the enemy champion, and if you killed the ghost, it would slow the enemy for a few seconds. The bug was Draven was somehow cashing in his stacks if he managed to kill this ghost, which means he was getting so much extra gold over everyone else, and he would easily get ahead in the game.
I like the exploits.
Yeah.
Again, I love the exploits.
Yeah.
This would have been a good time.
As far as I know, no one got banned or suspended, nothing like that. So thank goodness for that.
When Draven gets to use his tentacle to steal shit, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
And then Well, a follow up bug against Draven. There's a champion called Yasuo that the League community actually passionately hates. Like, if you go on the forums, it's like almost universal. Everyone hates Yasuo. They want him deleted from the game.
Wow.
He has an
Yeah,
ability
why?
that blocks all projectiles. This became an issue for Draven players because his ultimate ability is he sends his axes out in a direction on the map, which the axes keep going until they hit an enemy champion or they get to the edge of the map, and then they come back to Draven. However, if it hits a Yasuo wind wall, they simply disappear, meaning Draven can't use his ultimate for the rest of the game since his axes never came back to him.
Even if he dies?
Even if he dies, the game at the time waited until the axes came back and then it would go on cooldown. But since they never came back, it's just his ultimate is still waiting for the axes to come back.
I love that.
Does everybody hate Yasuo because of that ability, or just
No, he's an assassin type champion, and he's just really annoying to play against. It's one of those, in probably like any game, there would always be that one character, class, whatever you want to call it, that just everyone universally hates because of his gameplay or how players play him as, that just annoys everybody.
I still to this day, so one of my best friends, the one who got me into WoW, to this day, I still have angry feelings because I always went with mages, and he realized very quickly that if he was a warlock, he would fucking destroy me in any 1v1 of the two magic users, right?
Mhm.
So I would actually get mad. I would actually legitimately like not turn off my system or anything. Like we were neighbors. I would literally just not go to his shit sometimes, be like, just, but he wouldn't know that. You know what I mean? He wouldn't know. Underscore was pissed off that day.
All right, next we got Heimer turrets blocking minions. This was early in League of Legends. The champion, Heimerdinger, creates turrets. The issue was he could place these in front of the Nexus. He could place these in front of the Nexus and block the minions from running to lane. So Heimer would stack up the waves until there was like over hundreds of minions, then place more turrets to remove the old ones and release this massive wave of minions to overwhelm the enemy and get an easy win.
I'm sorry, just the name. It's just it sounds like a character from the what's that old show with Don Knotts? The Andy Griffith Show. Sounds like some random country bumpkin from the Andy Griffith Show. Heimerdinger.
What's that Heimerdinger thing called? All right, then we got Poppy moving the Baron. Poppy is a champion.
I'm not championing Poppy.
Poppy, yeah.
Assuming it's some sort of adorably tiny gnome type character.
Sort of. Yeah, you basically got it. Poppy is a champion that has an ability to headbutt the enemy where she charges at a nearby enemy and they both get pushed a short distance.
Straight in the balls. Straight in. Yeah. Headbutts you right in the balls or the ovaries.
However, there was a bug where she headbutt the big boss of the map called the Baron Nashor. You would kill this thing to get a buff to make you more powerful. Nowadays, it helps you empower your minions to help you push to finish the game. It's the idea. She would somehow be able to move this thing from its spot in the Baron pit. You would have to run away to stop Baron from attacking you, and you'd have to wait for the cooldown. But after a lot of patience, you could push Baron to a lane and use it to destroy towers and eventually the enemy Nexus for an easy win.
Wow. That's cool. That's cool.
I kind of dig that one, actually.
Yeah, I do too. That's neat.
Like, I could see that being a fun race for whoever can get... Because you still have to... You have to trigger the boss, right? The boss isn't, like, immediately available.
This was, again, early on in the game. I'm gonna guess like after like 5 minutes Baron would spawn, but nowadays it's like 15 minutes before Baron spawns.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be
mm-hmm.
Yeah. That would be a fun game mode. Who can tackle the boss into the
Yeah,
other team's base?
Enemy base. Yeah.
That would be, yeah.
that would be hilarious.
That'd be a fun, like, weird mode to temporarily, for Riot to temporarily throw up there. Like, a hard requirement that one person on each team is Poppy.
It would be a team of me, just like tiny and running head first.
Yeah. Head down.
All right, then we got Syndra could kill allies. Syndra is a champion who has an ability to pick up minions and monsters and then throw them. There was a bug where she could throw them and it would actually hurt an ally if it landed on them, which is even funnier when the narrator would still say, "You have slain an enemy," even though it would pop up you killing an ally. She did at one point be able to pick up Baron, which she wasn't supposed to, but she could just pick it up and just throw it somewhere. But it would reset back into the Baron pit, so not quite like Poppy.
Bummer, that would have been hilarious. And to be fair, like, me killing allies is basically all I do. It's any game where you have a grenade button and I don't know what it is, our team's gonna die at least once.
For sure. And we got Nico the Turret. Nico is a champion that can disguise herself as one of her allies. The idea is to scare or confuse enemies as if you had an ally with you. This bug allowed Nico to change into a turret, and it actually dealt damage, which instantly killed people and turrets. Thus, she was able to end games in 5 minutes, when games should last on average 30. And then
Nico is a brilliant idea.
Oh, it sometimes has worked when I play against her, and I'm like, oh snap, 2v1. When did this champion show up in the jungle? And then it disappears, and I'm like, oh, it was an illusion. So it does mess with players.
Yeah, I think
Well, that's good.
It's cool.
I mean, I've always liked that idea of, like, almost like the spy in TF2 as well, just being able to temporarily hide yourself as another hero. I don't know if it's the same where you can hide yourself as an enemy hero with Nico, or
No,
just
not
another
as an
member of
enemy,
your
just
team to throw
allies.
him off. Okay, but still, it still is a curveball.
And then last thing I got on my list, Dragon Knockup. Champions like Lee Sin can get knocked up into the air. Lee Sin has an ability that if he lands his Q, he can recast it and it pulls himself to the target. There was a time where he hit Dragon and pulled himself to it. Instead, he would get knocked up into the air. It took like a minute before he would come back down. I found out that this can work on other champions with similar abilities. If it pulls you towards the dragon, you just get shoot up in the air and disappear for a minute.
Did this become a thing for players to see how far they can get shot up in the air?
Probably, or it was just annoying that if you wanted to do dragon, you basically just either couldn't do it or you just had to make sure you didn't use that ability that knocks you up and takes you out of the fight for a full minute. I guess honorable mention would go to Tyler1, who was a big streamer that he was probably, you could say, the poster child for toxic players. He eventually got a permanent ban because of his toxicity. But what was it, like a year or two later, because he kept hosting tournaments, he was like making it up to Riot Games. And eventually they actually unbanned him from a permanent ban. Yeah, I think he just showed a lot of support to Riot, and I remember at tournaments that tons of people would have posters that saying like "Free Tyler1."
So, being obviously the League of Legends expert, when it comes to League of Legends, like, do you have ones that you personally hate, personally love, that kind of thing?
Specific champions?
Yeah.
Well, I still just love Garen a lot. I do like to also play Set. He's a fun champion. If I had to say the champion like I hate the most, especially if I have to play against him, probably have to be Vayne. She's just annoying because if she ults and then she uses her Q, she cloaks for like a second. And so like you'll try to hit her with an ability, but then she'll just disappear. Yeah, it's super annoying to play against her. I would say universally, also everyone hates Teemo. This tiny little furry squirrel that is a ranged champion that shoots like poison darts at you. And so every time you get in range, he just attacks you. You get poisoned for a little bit. It drains your health. Yeah, he's like universally hated. If you try to chase him, his ultimate is he throws mushrooms on the ground. They work like landmines. And so you run into them, they deal damage, they give you poison, and they slow you so you can't chase after him.
So have you done any tournaments then for money? Like, have you done like any big tournaments like that?
Not me. Nah. Oh wait, no. When I was in college, there was one college tournament that we had, and I got second place. But it was just you show up, you get placed with random people. So I believe two Asian students that they didn't even speak English. They had to literally type in the search bar saying "I go bottom," and then the other guy "I go jungle," and I'm just like "I go mid." And yeah, we got second place, so not too bad.
There you go.
What would you guys win?
A month of ramen.
No, I remember we did get something. I just can't remember what it was. I don't know if it was like a sticker or something, just nothing too special. I think the first place guys, they got like lanyards that said like League of Legends champions or something.
And then like the seventh place guys got like 25 Bitcoin and
Oh
people
no,
were like,
oh no. I think first place got lanyards. I just can't remember what second and third place got.
It's so disappointing. Honestly, like after all this money being thrown around, you might have gotten stickers.
Yeah. Oh, wait, no, then we did play in a second tournament, and this one I was actually part of a team, but we lost in the first round, so that's why I completely forgot. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, 2 tournaments in my League of Legends career. Second place in the first one, eliminated in the second one in the first round.
Well, thank you very much, Shadow. I knew nothing about League of Legends. I technically still don't. But it's nice to know a little bit of a background. I know you did a deep dive. If you haven't seen it on his YouTube, his retrospective, definitely check it out because I did watch some of it before we started. It's one of those games where it'll always be right in the back of my mind. It's something I want to try. I'm just too much of a coward to do it on my own. So I keep begging the other time pals to join me so that way there's somebody who could tell me what the fuck is going on. But visually, looks incredible. It hits all the notes that my brain wants with damages, magic, and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. So thank you very much for doing the League of Legends pod. I'm _ the Time Pals for ShadoSpartan and Java. Next time.